feel like the fact that this bracelet looks more like a house arrest bracelet than a piece of jewelry is kind of perfectly setting the tone for this video. But anyway, today's the One Direction episode, y'all. So buckle up because it's gonna be a bumpy ride. But I'm not even gonna waste any time. There's so much to cover. I could this video, if I didn't structure it even at all, would probably be 5 hours long. Also, again, hey sorry, the audio is gonna be a little bit white noisy because the fan is going on, because the last time I filmed without the fan, it was so hot. But basically today's episode is structured in a very specific way so that I stay on task. So the first part of this video is going to be about my personal anecdotes, because there's a never-ending list about them. Yeah, my whole life from about ages 12 through 16 were pretty much directly impacted by One Direction and accompanying parties. So anyway, that's the first part of the video. Then we will be moving on to my merch and the various kinds of merch that I owned, because there's a lot to be said. And probably the most horrifying part, but also probably the most entertaining, is we're going to be looking back at the 3 fan fictions that I wrote in high school. Or not in high school, in middle school through high school. So, like I said, let's just get into it. I'm going to log into my Wattpad account just so that we are ready to go. I feel it important to note that my fanfictions are not accessible on the on God's green internet, because I reached a certain point in my life where I said, maybe that's not. I don't know. Wait, what's my Wattpad username? Sorry for the dead air, guys. I am worried that I can't get back into my Wattpad account. What? Hi guys, I'm filming this really quickly, but I feel like I make this apology every video now, but basically my microphone completely stopped working. I don't know if it's like my audio processor or what's going on, but basically the audio was just not, the mic feed was just not salvageable. So there's going to be a mixture of both me using tiny Amazon microphones and just the video audio. I'm sorry, I will try to have that fixed by next week, but all the love in the world. Sorry guys, I told you this was gonna be rough for at least the first 5 episodes, so we're almost there. Anyway, love ya. Okay, perfect, we got it, guys. We're in. we're in. Let me see. Let me look at the library. This is gonna be shocking. Okay. Archive. No, my stories, bro. My stories. Okay, I have one published story, but it was a collection of short poetry. So I have 5 in drafts. One is a 5 Seconds of Summer fan fiction, which will be held for a later date because that is another episode that I'm sure will be filmed. The other 3 oof. Okay, all right, now that we got all my ducks in a row, we can begin. Welcome to the One Direction episode of Now Listening To. I don't know if I even said welcome back. Welcome back to the Now Listening To podcast, hosted by yours truly, Allison Martin. Just to get into the nitty gritty of it all, let's start with how I found One Direction. So if it isn't obvious by the fact that there's literally a Harry Styles vinyl behind me, and just like, I don't know, my general obsession with One Direction. I really haven't touched on it that much, but this episode will give major headway into just, I don't know, One Direction. I said this in last week's episode, and I'm sure I'll get emotional at some point during this video, But One Direction gave me a lot of confidence in a time that I didn't have any, and also just kind of made me realize, like, I don't know, gave me purpose in my life and like my future and where I wanted to go. So anyway, let's get into how I found One Direction. I, unlike every other teenage girl in early 2010s, did not immediately hop on the train of being obsessed with One Direction. I will say that I have gone through phases like my whole life of like obviously liking the most popular like teenage heartthrob. So like I had a Jonas Brothers phase when I was younger. I was a Joe girl, by the way. I had a Justin Bieber phase, which stopped when I found out that he smoked weed, because that's just not the man for me. But anyway, I don't know what that says about me. But I was never like over the top obsessed with them. I liked their music and like thought they were cute, but it was never like consumed my very being until One Direction. So yeah, that was my first real big all-consuming obsession, and it's ruined my life ever since in that regard, because now I cannot like things casually. So how did I find One Direction? I, like all teenage girls, like I heard of One Direction when they first started getting famous with Up All Night, which is their debut album. And I heard them on X Factor and everything like that. But I was not immediately invested. Obviously, like, heard What Makes You Beautiful on the radio, knew the words, but like I didn't know what they looked like. I didn't have a favorite. Because One Direction first formed and started getting famous when I lived in Germany. So I was still in elementary school when they first formed. And then when I moved back to America, my childhood best friend from kindergarten was already obsessed with One Direction, and she was a Niall girl. And so for about that first year back, which was my first year of middle school, so I was in 6th grade, my best friend Gabby, which she listens to the podcast, so everyone say hi to Gabby. But yeah, Gabby spent probably about the next year trying to convince me to like One Direction so that it could be something that we like shared in common. And I resisted it for probably like 3/4 of that year. But it wasn't actually Gabby that got me into One Direction. It was my own father, which he will not have any recollection of this, but it stands so vividly in my mind of when the moment that I like became a One Direction stan, basically. And he would hate to know that he was the reason, because my family found me absolutely insufferable. Which I'll get back to, because I think obsessions like this are part of being a teenage girl and is what makes being a teenage girl fun. And I wasn't even like fully a teenage girl, but like, also, I'm already getting on my soapbox about this, but like everyone I've ever met or interacted with because of One Direction, like, are such strong-willed, passionate, kind, self-motivated young women, and men too. And it's just a beautiful thing to see that something like One Direction can bring so many people together and bring out the very best in them. So anyway, how I found One Direction. I was on a car ride with my dad. For whatever reason, he had purchased Up All Night and Midnight Memories. The song playing in the car, that made me a One Direction fan. I don't know why my dad was listening to One Direction. I don't know why he downloaded the albums. I don't know. I had no part in it. It was independent. He was playing Does He Know off of Midnight Memories, which is One Direction's 3rd album. And I was like, I really like this song. So naturally I said when we got home, oh Dad, can you download these 2 albums onto my, at the time, teal iPod Touch? And he said, yeah, no problem. Started listening to Midnight Memories specifically, but also Up All Night. And I remember looking at the album art. I will put, for visual listeners, I will put the Midnight Memories album art on the screen. But Harry, I just kept looking at Harry. I just kept looking at Harry and I was like, damn, that man is fine. Damn, that man is fine. So that I would say is the beginning. And then how it like kind of derailed after that was I told Gabby that I thought that I was starting to like One Direction. Then they started becoming the only thing I was listening to. They were on tour. They were on the Where We Are tour. Gabby was going. They announced that they were going to be releasing 4, which was their 4th album, naturally. So like all of these pieces started fitting into place. And also, very vital piece of context. Sorry, there's literally an eczema patch on my elbow. So that is what I am focused on because I am a skin picker. So the more you know about me, guys. Anyway, all of those things were coming together, but some very vital context. I naturally, as I am talking to myself for an hour about things that I like, I have been very extroverted my entire life. My parents have told me that when I was a toddler, I would go up to random strangers and I would start talking to them because, yeah, why wouldn't I have a lot to say? So I've been that way my whole life, especially because I moved around so much. Like, making friends and talking to people has come very naturally to me. But I think it was the first time I experienced this. I had never gone to a public school before. When I lived in the US, like from when I was born to when I moved to Germany, I went to a Catholic private school, which is a whole other story. And then after that, I went to an international school. So I was experiencing public school for the first time. And with that, middle school's already really tough time for everyone anyway. Just, you know, changing bodies and being insecure in who you are and everything like that. And so I had that in addition to not having any friends. And the part that was difficult for me was the fact that all of these kids had grown up together and gone to elementary school together and have lived in this place their entire life. So they know each other, they have these established friendships and everything like that. And so nobody wanted to be friends with a new kid. And also, American schools are huge. Like, the school I went to, relative to the rest of the United States, was still on the smaller side, but there's still so many kids. So it's hard to make friends anyway. So just a lot of adjustments, and I didn't know it until way later on in my life, now as a seasoned professional. But that was the first time I ever was depressed. That's the first time I ever experienced depression, and I did not have a crutch or anything that was really helping. Like I mentioned, my childhood best friend Gabby, her and I didn't go to the same school. We lived about like 20-30 minutes apart from each other, and obviously we were children, so I didn't get to see her. But if like one of our parents orchestrated something, so I was seeing her maybe like once or twice a month, and I just didn't really have a social outlet. So I started liking One Direction towards the end of 6th grade, and alongside that, I had planned, oh, this makes me sad, I might cry. I had planned my, what birthday is it? 12th birthday party. And I had a few people that I sat with at lunch that I invited to the party, and I invited Gabby too. And this was right about the time that I was becoming a One Direction stan. And I invited all of them, and the only person that came was Gabby. So that was really heartbreaking moment. It still makes me sad to think about, because I know the little girl I was, because I was a little girl at the end of the day, and I just wanted friends. And it was really sad. It was really sad, and it's a time I look back on in my life where I wish I could give my past self a hug because I needed it. But anyway, at that birthday party was when we dove headfirst into the One Direction fandom, and then my whole life turned around, which is, yes, a little bit of an overstatement and embellishment, but also it's kind of true. So, at that birthday party, I was gifted, this is supposed to be in the merch section of the video. For my audio listeners, I am holding the Build-A-Bear exclusive One Direction teddy bear. Mine specifically's name is Harry Bear. He used to have a shirt with a Harry decal on it. It has since fallen apart. I do not have that anymore, but if for my visual listeners, if you can see on the bottom of the bear's paws, it has a really dated picture of One Direction, and then the other foot says I love 1D, and then over his heart it says One Direction. So this is Harry Bear. He was my 12th birthday gift from Gabby. I never got rid of him. I still have him. He still sits in my room. He unfortunately has lost bed status at this time because I am 22 years old, but don't be mistaken, I do still sleep with stuffed animals on my bed. Harry Bear is just not one of the current tenants on my bed. That being said though, this was a really important gift to me because at that sleepover, since it was just Gabby and I, she was really hell-bent on making sure I still had a good birthday. So we went out to dinner together, we watched The Fault in Our Stars in the movie theater naturally because we were both 12 years old, which I don't know how we watched that because also don't mind me literally cradling this teddy bear in my arms. I don't know how we got into the theater because both of us were 12, but anyway. But then when we got home, Gabby was like, oh, have you watched like One Direction Funny Moments? And I was like, One Direction Funny Moments, what's that? And she's like, oh, like compilations on YouTube. And all of my Directioners out there will know that the moment you search One Direction Funny Moments on YouTube, like Funny Moments compilation, that is the kiss of death. You're falling down the rabbit hole and never getting out of it after that. So from that day forward, I dove head first into figuring out like the entire history of One Direction, when they were born, where they were from, their lives before One Direction, like literally every piece of information. And I strongly accredit that to why I am an overthinker now, why I have such good deductive reasoning skills, and why I call myself an investigative journalist, which really just means I know how to be extremely nosy. So I dove headfirst that summer and I haven't gotten out since. I am still a One Direction stan. Yeah, I would call myself a One Direction stan to this day, but that was the beginning. Tragic beginning. But after that, when I became a stan, a Directioner, if you will, caught the One Direction infection, of course, that entire summer I was consumed. But something that came with me being a fan of One Direction and like kind of the sense of security it gave me, it was like I had this whole new lease on life, like very confident and was just completely being myself and extremely extroverted. And I made friends that next year because of, I'm not going to say I made friends because of One Direction, but I will say I made friends because they instilled a confidence in me that I had been missing. And so after that, I was, the annoying girl in my middle school who was literally overly obsessed with One Direction, and made it my whole life. And even now I'm just like, wow, I was fucking annoying. But I also don't regret it. And I also, like, as an adult now, look back at that time in my life as like one of the happiest times in my life. And of course, after Gabby reeled me into the One Direction fandom, it was only natural that my other childhood best friend, Yvonne, and I looped her in as well. Which kind of leads me to my next point. So yeah, I was a girl in middle school who was so overly obsessed with One Direction. I made it my entire personality. I was hell-bent on Harry Styles was going to be my husband, and there was literally nothing that could stop me. And I will say that strong will and deliberate delusion is what continues to help me be delusional in my day-to-day now, because I continue to romanticize my life. Maybe not to the same degree as I thought I was going to marry Harry Styles. I don't think that anymore, fortunately, because that means I'm at least a hair normal. But anyway, the next personal anecdote via One Direction is I formed a girl band so that Harry Styles would fall in love with me. So I did mention this in the first episode, I'm pretty sure, when I was briefing over the middle school section of my past with music. Mind you, at this time, incredibly nervous, had really bad stage fright, so I don't even know where I got this idea from. excuse my yawn, it's 10:15 at night. I don't know where I got this idea from, but I actually do know where I got this idea from. Yvonne, Gabby, and I, none of the three of us went to the same school. Gabby and I lived in the same state. Yvonne lived like, I don't know how many hours driving away, but not close by. So we all saw each other, but like once or twice a year, like all three of us together. But Yvonne was my friend that I made in Germany. So I knew that she could sing already because her and I she was one of my friends that did the talent show, and she also, like I had heard her sing. Like we had been friends that whole time, so I knew that she sang. And obviously I looped her into being friends with Gabby and I and being a part of the One Direction fandom. So just to put it out there, just to make it clear, Gabby was a Niall girl, I was a Harry girl, Yvonne was a Louis girl. So if that comes up again, we're just putting it out there. And, you know, obviously that's trickled into today because Harry's literally both here and here behind me. So, yeah. I knew that Yvonne could sing. I liked to sing, and yeah, I don't know if I had heard Gabby sing or if it was just like I'm looping you into this, I don't really give a shit. Could be any combination. But the idea was planted in my mind because at the time that I became a One Direction stan, Perry Edwards of the UK girl band Little Mix was still engaged to Zayn. And as far as I saw it, I was like, oh my god, that's literally perfect. We're gonna form a girl band and we're gonna go audition on X Factor or America's Got Talent or some sort of equivalent to that when we're 18. And then we're gonna move to England and we're gonna marry One Direction. So, and just, hey, little teaser, little what's the word? Spoiler. The end of this video did actually in fact write a fan fiction about that very premise that we were also doing in real life. So yeah, I basically told them that we were going to be a girl band, and we made like the whole Instagram. We would each post individual covers. But then I got upset when people weren't taking it as serious as me, which is fucking ridiculous because I was in 7th grade, so what did I expect? And also what was gonna come of that, I don't know. But this was like the height of the age where like when you started posting stuff on the internet, like you could start getting a following. We were never consistent enough, and we also went through a couple of names. So our first name of the band was initially Beautiful Chaos, which still a fan of that one. But our final band name was End of Discussion, which I think is quite sassy and quite good. I don't know when we officially made the decision to disband, but it was a lot of that for a while, and then like this pressure that every time we were hanging out together that we would like the 2 or 3 times a year that we saw each other, that we would have to film a cover, all 3 of us. Yeah, most of the time that never ended up happening, just to be completely blatantly honest. And yeah, it just like, I think in 8th grade, Yvonne's a year younger than Gabby and I, so in 8th grade, like about to go into high school, it kind of like slowed down, and then eventually at some point it was just decided that like we weren't doing that anymore because it wasn't going to be fruitful. And then I decided that I was going to be a solo act, and then that led me down my path with music, I guess, in some sense. But yeah, I did form a girl band so that Harry Styles would fall in love with me. It didn't work, so to anyone who might have also had that idea, thoughts and prayers are with you, because yeah, it didn't work. But I did read something earlier this year that said Camila Cabello literally did that very thing, like so that Harry would fall in love with her with Fifth Harmony, so at least I wasn't the only one with that idea. And then to kind of circle back to something that I said before, that I moved to London for One Direction. That is true. Not entirely, but the seed was first planted in my brain when I was about 12 or 13 years old, and I was getting really into One Direction. I actually remembered it today. I was listening to One Direction on my run in preparation for this video, just to see if it would, or get me in the right headspace and also like jog any memories I had. But it did jog memory, a midnight memory to be exact. The song Midnight Memories off of their third album, Midnight Memories. The music video of that is filmed in London, and there's a scene in the bridge of like to the final chorus in the song where they're on Tower Bridge in London, famously confused for London Bridge. Tower Bridge is the one that's really pretty looking and has all the castle-y looking bits, which I did not find out until I moved there. But yeah, there's a scene of them on it, and that very scene I was like, I want to move to London. I'm gonna move there. When I turn 18, I'm going to move to London. And I don't know if it's because I wrote about it in a fan fiction, or if it's because I'm just strong-willed and One Direction helps me manifest. But I did move to London when I was 18. I attended college there for 3 years, as I talked about in the first episode, and graduated in 2023 with a degree in literature. So I did fulfill the prophecy, and I won't say I did move there because of One Direction, but I will say the seed was planted when I was very young, so 11 or 12 when I was, or 12 or 13 when I was in the height of my One Direction phase, which it's not a phase because it's still like, it is in my DNA, ingrained in like the person I am now. I can firmly say with my chest that I would not be the person I am today if One Direction hadn't been such a significant part of my life, which is scary but also powerful. But yeah, I wanted to move there, and I did. I can insert all the photos and pictures of me living in London, but I moved there when I was 18. I moved away when I was 21. I have a complicated relationship with London, but that has nothing to do with One Direction. So anyway, the whole moving to London, which I will circle back to because it's in the fan fictions as well. So yeah. And then kind of to wrap up on the personal anecdotes of it all, it's going to be one of the saddest days in history, which is going to go ahead and be March 25th, 2015, which, you guessed it, is the day that Zayn left One Direction. So, to paint a picture, when I was in middle school, I think that was like my rebellious teen phase, which is quite early. Like, it happened from like 11 through 13 for me instead of like the normal like 15 to 17 years old. And also by rebellious, like, I didn't do anything bad. I was and still am a goody two-shoes for the most part. I've just learned to let my hair down a little bit more. Oh my god, I literally forgot to talk about my One Direction concert. I'll get back to that after this. But, oh my god, I probably just blew out the mic because I just tapped it. But, yeah, let me paint a picture. In middle school, I got in trouble with my parents a lot because I was perpetually on my iPod Touch, because how else was I going to be tuned into One Direction's every happening and doing constantly? And I will say this is specifically in 7th grade, which is when Zayn left One Direction, by the way, when I was in 7th grade. So yeah, my iPod was actually constantly getting taken away from me because I was failing to, do my chores and such. But because I am sneaky and because I was conniving when I was that age, I knew where my parents hid my iPod in my room, so I would just take it when they weren't at home, and then I would put it back when they got home from work. So, March 25th, 2015. We had known at this point that Zayn had been taking a break from tour. That was a little too much on his mental, and I was like, oh my god, of course, Zayn, like, we totally get it. You need a break from 4 consecutive years of tour and producing studio albums. I totally get it. Like, don't even worry about it. We totally get it. Mind you, I had been marking this on my One Direction calendar the days that he had been missing from tour. I had been marking it on my calendar because it's pertinent information, obviously. And yeah, so I got on my iPad when I went home, and mind you, I also had to go to religion class this night. Yeah, I had to go to religion class later that night, so I was getting in my screen time, my iPad kid time, if you will, before I had to go to class. So, you know, scrolling through Instagram, which I also secretly had in middle school, which I was just like, why was I such a conniving, like, teenager? I don't get it. But anyway, the first and last time in my life I've been conniving, I'll tell you that much. But, on my Instagram, I saw a screenshot of a Facebook post from the One Direction, Facebook page that said, actually, let me pull it up verbatim because I don't want to misquote this. It's, leaving One Direction post. Okay. The thing is, I literally had this memorized. After 5 incredible years, Zayn Malik has decided to leave One Direction. Which, the fact that Zayn was my age when he left One Direction is actually fucking crazy, and that makes me feel sick to my stomach that I am his age that he was when he left now. But anyway, I read that post as a screenshot on my Instagram because I did not have Facebook when I was in 7th grade, because that to me was old fart social media. So, but immediately texted my group chat with Gabby and Yvonne, and I said, oh my god, did you guys see the news? Do you think it's real? And both of them were freaking out, but I had to like keep my composure to some extent because my parents couldn't know that I had my iPod and found that out like when I got home. Also, sorry if you can literally hear my laptop whizzing. I'm gonna try to move it away from the microphone. My parents could not find out that I knew, but how was I supposed to keep my composure because my whole world was crumbling and I thought One Direction was on the verge of a breakup? And hey, guess what? They were. Sorry, a hiatus. That's indefinite, and that they're still on almost, I don't even want to know how many years. It's almost been 10 years since One Direction went on hiatus. That's making me sick to my stomach. When you think about the dates like that, it really makes you sick to your stomach. Hit this note for me. Anyway, wow, I'm really going on pure vibes right now, and I hate the fact that I just said that, but I really am doing that. I'm tired. Sorry, guys. Also, sorry that my voice sounds grovelly. I didn't bring a drink, and this is what happens when I talk relentlessly without any pauses. But yeah, I had to keep my composure, and yeah, I was picked up to go to religion class, like barely holding it together. Like, I sobbed a little bit after texting Yvonne and Gabby, put my iPod back where it belonged, and then went to religion class. But unfortunately, my religion class, I had a One Direction folder. And so, obviously being the One Direction bitch in middle school, everyone felt like it was their God-given right, no pun intended, because I was at religion class, that they needed to tell me if I was not somehow already clued in on the fact that Zayn had left One Direction. Oh my god, memories are flooding back into my mind right now. It's almost embarrassing, but it was who I was. So, yeah, what was I gonna say? Yeah, my One Direction folder for religion class. I got to religion class, I was like silently sobbing the whole way. My classmates for that class were like, hey, you good? Like, what's up? And I was like, see, left One Direction. And yeah, then we got into the classroom and we were waiting for our teacher, and our teacher was late. And like, I brought out my folder and then I looked at it and I looked at Zayn, and it was like the first time I had seen a picture of the 5 of them, like post finding out that Zayn was no longer a part of the band. And I started viscerally sobbing in class, like inconsolably crying, like he had died. And like, I could not be reassured or consoled for the next like 5 days. I was literally mourning like someone had died, like a family member of mine had died. And I was crying in class all the time. I remember distinctly now, actually, for whatever reason, we were learning about World War II, and my teacher made some joke where she said One Direction and then said, oh, haha, like not anymore. And then I broke down in tears. I broke down in tears immediately when she made the joke. So much so that she had to pull me aside out of class and apologize to me because she did not realize how much it had personally impacted my life. So yeah, I don't really know what to add, but I will segue into one of the sweetest things that my friend did for me at the time. I don't think she listens, but on the off chance she does, one of my very, 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 very close friends in middle school's name was Adele. She and all of my other friends at the time, like my whole friend group, just kind of like went along with my whole obsession with One Direction, and then later subsequently Harry as well, which in hindsight was really sweet. And it was really nice that I had such close friends that, like, while they didn't have the exact same passions as me, my passion being a group of 5 men that were 8 years older than me, give or take, like that they cared about me enough to like be interested in what I liked. So shout out to all of them. But Adele started doing this thing. I distinctly remember when I got the first one. Also, sorry if this video has kind of been all over the place, like me jumping from one thing to the next. This is just like, I have locked this away in my head, and now it's like all pouring out for the first time in a long time. But yeah, basically Adele started doing this thing. We were in biology and I was depressed, and rightfully so, because it felt like a piece of my life was falling apart. And later that year, like, One Direction went on a break and they haven't gotten back together since, so fair enough. That's where my trust issues with men start, to be completely honest with you. But all joking aside, I was in biology class, I was depressed, I was really unhappy. Like, literally everyone around me could tell. My family was getting fucking annoyed with me, which fair enough. My teachers were like, this is a clinical problem. Like, what is wrong with this girl? And all of my friends could just like visibly see I was unhappy. And so for the first time, or when this started for the first time, my friend Adele, who was posing as Zayn, threw a crumbled piece of paper at me, and I actually have them all here with me today because almost 10 years later I have kept every single one of them. Let me see how many there are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So, starting in March of 2015, Adele wrote me all of these letters posing as Zayn to help me with my depression and getting over it. And it was like the sweetest thing that anyone has ever done for me, which like it low-key makes me emotional thinking about it now. And yes, 10 years later, I have kept all of them. I have not read them in a long time, so I'll read you guys one because I haven't looked at it. But yeah, I don't know when she gave me this one, but this one's typed. Most of these were written on scrap pieces of paper at school because we had a bunch of classes together that she would throw at me when I wasn't looking, so it would keep the illusion alive, kind of like Santa Claus. But let's say, okay. Dear Allison, I know I usually don't address you by your actual name because I am way too cool for that, but I felt like this was a special occasion. I know that you and about 1 million other fans out there are still hurting from the way I left the band last year. Oh my god, this was a year later? Wow. And I wanted to tell you that it wasn't your fault. It was never your fault. The longer I stayed in the band, the more I started to realize that being a part of a group wasn't for me. I was much better suited to being on my own. I decided that was best for me wasn't being with others, it was being by myself and doing my own thing. Don't feel sad that I left. It was for the best and things are much easier now. Maybe someday when the time is right, I'll go back and see if I can rejoin. If not, then maybe it's just not meant to be. The best thing I can do is have faith and trust that whatever happens, happens for a reason. I love you guys so much. You mean the world to me, and I wouldn't be where I am without you guys, especially you, Allison. Writing to you helps me de-stress when things get rocky, and it's cool to know that you care so much. And your friend Adele is pretty cool too. Have an amazing Easter and enjoy the egg, Zayn. I'm guessing she gave me an Easter egg, but that's what I'm saying. Like, I haven't reconnected with, like, these are my friends from middle school, and I moved, like, shortly after I started high school, so obviously I haven't been close to these people for a while, but, like, I have just always had the best friends in the entire world, is kind of what I'm concluding. So, like, yeah, she wrote 20 different ones of those and wrote them for me for over the course of a year, it seems, because I didn't even know she did kind of a year post breakup, but yeah. Literally, I think she did it up until we finished middle school, which, so sweet. She's so sweet. I still love her to bits, and I really hope she's doing well. Yeah, I just had really sweet, wonderful friends growing up. I just yelled at my sisters, by the way. And yeah, they helped me get over my depression with One Direction. Who would have thought the one thing that got me out of my initial bout of depression would be the thing that brought it back? But anyway, yeah, my letters from Zane, they're all here for my visual listeners. Here are all my letters from Zane that I've kept. So with that being said, let me pivot to my last anecdote, which ties in my makeup and what I'm wearing today, which was my One Direction concert. And I'm kind of just gonna do a brief overview of this, kind of more as a anecdote, making fun of myself, and also being like, there was something clinically wrong with your brain. One Direction concert, August 8th, 2015, at the Baltimore Ravens stadium. And we didn't quite have nosebleed seats, but they were pretty damn near nosebleed. I went with Gabby, Yvonne, and then my mom and Yvonne's grandmother went as our chaperones. But today I actually did my makeup and wore the shirt because I still own the shirt, which is my segue and kind of to all the merch that I owned as a One Direction fan, and some of it being like some out-of-pocket shit. Yeah, so my makeup today, I'm doing a nice bronzy smoky eye with a subtle wing. I did try my bout with liquid eyeliner when I was 13. I think I was 13 at the concert. Did not do that today. Also, I'm gonna insert the picture for my visuals on the screen. I was not able to replicate the hair because I don't know how I manipulated my hair to do that. It did not look like that when I was trying to today, and I could not be bothered. And also, I do not have the same youthful skin that I had at 13, so I did have to go ahead and put on complexion makeup. In addition to, as well as, I'm much better at doing makeup now than I was at 13. So forgive me if it doesn't look spot on. But I am wearing the shirt. And for my audio-only listeners, my shirt says, "This is my backstage pass," whatever that means. So mind you, I also had nosebleed seats, so One Direction perceiving me was damn near impossible. Especially Harry. So the interesting thing about that is me, as well as my best friends, Yvonne and Gabby, as well as apparently a bunch of One Direction fans, because I'm coming to find out that this was sort of like a rite of passage as a One Direction fan, shaved myself top to tail. Just in case. Excuse me? Just in case? What do you mean by that? Just in case. Just in case Harry's trying to go to court because he is assaulting a minor? Like, babe, you're 13 and he's 21? 22? Not happening. What do you mean? Also, what does "this is my backstage pass" mean? Your underage pubescent body is your backstage pass? Okay. Pop off, queen. Okay. But yeah, it's just like stuff like that I'm just like, wow. Actually, there was something clinically wrong with my brain, but also I don't regret it at all. Don't regret it at all. Obviously not. I still own the shirt. Have I worn it since? No. But hey, there's an opportunity awaiting me, I'm sure, to get to wear the shirt again. But yeah, with that segue of still owning the shirt, let's go through the pieces of merch that I remember having and that I still have in my possession. First up is this hoodie. Again, for my visuals, I'm holding up a heather gray sweatshirt that says "I love 1D" on it in big print. This was, I think, my first piece of One Direction wearable merch. And let me tell you, I wore this thing to fucking death. I think I wore it consistently from like 7th grade through 9th grade. In my first and only trip to Peru, the motherland, where I was visiting all of my extended family for the first time in my life, every single picture, I am wearing this fucking hoodie. When I went to Machu Picchu, wearing this fucking hoodie. Literally everywhere I was wearing this hoodie. So yeah, and then when Zayn left One Direction, I wore this thing like it was like fucking mourning clothes. Like my funeral blacks was wearing this like that. What do you mean? Why are you wearing an I Love 1D hoodie when it is borderline summer? I don't know. But I still have it now, and I probably will never get rid of it because it has too much emotions attached to it. Obviously, we already touched on Harry Bear. Love him to bits. I will definitely not be getting rid of him because I have a problem where I attach sentimental value to stuffed animals. So he's not going anywhere. And then, okay, what else do I have? I have One Direction Up All Night, the live tour on DVD. I also have This Is Us, but I grabbed the wrong DVD when I was getting them down earlier, and then I had to go through the archives of my room to find all of this stuff. So it was not in a convenient place to get it out. But I also own This Is Us on Blu-ray as well. I still have that in my possession. And then a couple of things that I don't have that are kind of like in the clothing category. I used to have a plain, by the way, none of this was officially licensed One Direction merch. It was Amazon knockoffs. I had a plain blue, like navy t-shirt that said Future Mrs. Styles on it. Wore that shit to fucking death. Fucking death. I wear that shirt all the time. I don't know when I got rid of it, but I don't have it anymore. And then in that same vein, I also had a tattoo sweatshirt, which if you guys are not familiar, Harry Styles, actually every member of One Direction with the exception of Niall has sleeves, chest tattoos, like there's no limit. So naturally I also had Harry's tattoo sweatshirt, like he was my fucking boyfriend. Like, okay, pop off, queen. And then I also had 2 different Harry Styles cardboard cutouts. I had one that I got for my 14th birthday. 14th. That was like kind of a Take Me Home era meets Where We Are tour era Harry Styles. And I had that one up until very recently. That cardboard cutout went through like 4 different countries. So probably the most well-traveled cardboard cutout of Harry Styles that exists. He's no longer in my possession. I do think we got rid of him. If not, he's in my closet somewhere. And in that vein, also, my freshman year of college, my best friend, Cedric, who I seem to have mentioned over the past 2 episodes, got me in distaste, by the way, because I didn't want it. And this is kind of me reverting back to what I said the last episode, that he's a notoriously bad gift giver. He got me a cardboard cutout of Harry that I had to take back on the train from where he lived in England to London, which is about an hour and a half ride, and then I had to take Harry on the tube as well. And then Harry lived in my college dorm apartment, like kitchen, for the rest of the year. And then he lived in a closet for the following 2 years in my London apartment. And then he was supposed to be given to a thrift shop. They wouldn't take him, so he got taken to the dump. But yeah, it was an older version of Harry, like probably somewhere between Up All Night, Take Me Home. He was probably like 17 or 18. Yeah, so he lived in my college kitchen for a while because there were no guys in our apartment that year. So he was the male presence. But yeah, I had 2 separate versions of Harry cardboard cutouts. That's all she wrote. There's not really much else to say on that one. And then kind of my last tidbit on the merchandise front is I had a lot of One Direction jewelry. So I still have this bracelet that used to light up. I tried to see if it had any battery left. It does not. I think it's meant to be worn at concerts. I don't know why I still own it, because it sits in a box, but it sits in a box of memories. Oh my god, I almost forgot the most important piece of merch also. And then I also, if you are a One Direction stan or you were in a past life, you will know that there's this very famous airplane necklace that Harry used to have that he gave to Taylor Swift as like a gift. So I had a version of that, but it was, again, Amazon's finest, so it did rust and turn my neck green, so I did have to get rid of it. And then I had another necklace, I'll see if I can find a picture of it online, that was a heart that had Harry's signature on it, and I wore that thing, again, like my boyfriend gave it to me. So, unhealthy obsession with men who do not know who I am. We all know who to thank for that one. That's gonna go ahead and be Mr. Harry Styles. But the last one, which I still own, is this knockoff, non-officially licensed One Direction board game called Girl Talk, the game, ages 8+. So I think I played this game a total of one time. I don't remember who got it for me, but we're gonna read 2 question cards to see kind of what we're working with. Okay, this is not, we'll do the do you knows. There's 3 different types of cards. There's would you dare, action card, and do you know. Okay, let's find a do you know for me to do. Okay, there we go. Action card. Swap your player card with the player to your right. So I'm sure this had something to do with the gameplay. Will you dare move as though you're walking through pudding? So I think this is supposed to be like a sleepover game. And then the do you know is, what birth sign is Niall? Capricorn, Aquarius, or Virgo? Yes, I remember all of One Direction's birthdays off the top of my head, so I'm going to go ahead and tell you that Niall is a Virgo because he was born on September 13th. Answer: Virgo, his birthday is on September 13th. Thank you very much. Let's see. Okay. Do you know which 1D member was told to come back in 2 years on his first solo audition for the X Factor in 2008? That's going to go ahead and be Mr. Liam Payne, and you want to know what he sang when he came back? Cry Me a River in the rendition of Michael Bublé. Thank you very much. Also met his baby mother at his first audition, which is something. And last do you know, which I think this is kind of a subjective question, and I think there's multiple sources where you could get different answers, but do you know, according to Liam, who is the biggest flirt in the band? Harry. Answer: Harry. So, yeah, that's the kind of gameplay that we were talking about. I think I played this game maybe a total of 2 times. It wasn't really fun aside from kind of the trivia questions, but then to me that was like, okay, that's a no-brainer though. Like, this is like basic common sense. Who wouldn't know this? So anyway, that is my collection of merch that I still own, which is more than I thought that I had. So at least that's something. I'm using my tiny mic for the first time for audio, so if it's bad, sorry. But if you haven't been able to tell from the rest of the video already, my studio mic cut out about 2 minutes into recording the episode yesterday, and I tried to edit the audio on GarageBand, but it just wasn't there was no saving it. It was really staticky, and there's no coming back from it. And also, I think I built up this episode in my head a little bit, and I wanted it to be like this really grandiose special thing because that's what One Direction was to me my entire tween and teenage years. But also, like, I filmed this week's episode at like 11 o'clock at night. So I was exhausted, and by the time I got to the fanfiction portion of the video, I just don't think I was giving you guys an accurate or like entertaining snippet of my fanfictions. So, oh, somebody just texted me. So what we're going to do today, I have my laptop in hand. We're going to go back, and I'm going to give you guys a little bit more context to the stories. So I have 3 major fanfictions that I wrote. One that I wrote when I was in 6th grade when I first became a fan of One Direction, and then 2 that I was a little bit older And you can kind of tell like the writing style for each. The Lucky Ones, which is a One Direction fan fiction that I wrote in 6th grade in 2014. And the description is one summer day turns into a lifetime of their dreams. And I also would like to put it out there that I put an author's note on this that says I'm not very proud of this book. It sucks until the very end. So if that's not really setting you guys up for what you're about to hear, let me just clue you in. So this first chapter, I go on and on about nobody stealing the story. Babe, no one wants to steal this story. I'm just telling you right now. So setting the scene, because I read the whole chapter yesterday and it was like very monotonous and got quite boring. Lots of point of view switches. Who are One Direction stans. Of course, we're going to be the protagonists. So we're at the beach. One Direction are also at this beach, but we haven't spotted them yet. So we're jumping right into the juice of this chapter. Yeah. I was so glad. This is Gabby's point of view, by the way. I was so glad when I found out Allison could come with me to the beach, as that gave us a chance to talk about our favorite subject, One Direction. We found out that they were in Maryland and we almost died because what if we ran into them? Oh my gosh, that would be amazing. Spelled Amazyn. But for now, we were just enjoying spending our time together and fangirling. R spelled ARE, not OUR. Allison went to our matching Manchester United towels that I had gotten for Allison for Christmas. First of all, my family supports Tottenham Hotspurs. So why did I have Man U towels in this story? Oh, because I looked it up online and the team that Harry supports in the Premier League is allegedly Manchester United. So, of course, I did some research for this because I'm nothing if not accurate. We talked for a bit at the towels, then both applied sunscreen and fell asleep. Feel asleep. Did not say feel asleep, only to be awoken 30 minutes later, which I also don't think is proper grammar. A Cheshire accent awoke Allison. Hello, love. I believe you were on my towel, Harry whispered. Allison got up and realized that there were towels that looked exactly like ours 3 feet away. I'm sorry. Gabby, wake up, Allison said. She shot up like a rocket. Why am I switching between point of views like every 3 seconds? I've been in first, second, and third point of view in this snippet alone. What's wrong? I exclaimed. These aren't our towels, Gabby, Allison explained. Oh, what's wrong? I exclaimed. My bad. What are you talking about? Of course these are. And looking up, we both realized that standing in front of us were Harry Styles and Niall Horan. And then we're jumping to Harry's point of view. These girls are different. Of course, the first thought that Harry has. These girls are different than other fans. They seem to like us for us, not the boys from One Direction. Maybe they will be the lucky ones. Boom. Title dropped in the first chapter. So, no continuity errors here. No plot holes. Okay, so I'll just give a brief of this so we can kind of see how quickly my 6th grade self thought that relationships were supposed to move. They have a conversation, the rest of the band comes, they talk about going to the boardwalk. So, boom, Allison's point of view. So we're switching like every paragraph. I was holding Harry's hand and I didn't even realize it. As I went to pull away, he said, "Don't let go." As our fingers intertwined once more, R again spelled A-R-E, not O-U-R. Our eyes met, and I saw his beautiful green eyes and perfect dimples. I turn away and see Niall and Gabby holding hands and giggling while Louis and Liam trailed behind them. We're jumping to Harry's point of view. I had the most amazing day. I meet the girl of my dreams. She was truly everything I ever wanted in a girl. Babe, you met her that afternoon. This sounds like love bombing. You're adorable, spelt Y-O-U-R. I laughed, and then the smile reappeared. I just love the view. Babe, we're at Ocean City, Maryland. Calm down. She stated, but then she asked me, "Can I tell you something?" And I replied, "Of course, anything." And she replied with, "I love you." I smiled and I said, "I love you too." Then we snuggled close. So that's kind of all I'm going to read for the first chapter. But timeline, if in case anybody was wondering. Gabby and Allison go to the beach, are there for probably up until the afternoon, meet Niall and Harry. Niall and Harry immediately think that these are the girls of their dreams. Then we jump to asking us out on a date, holding hands. I didn't read this part, but Gabby and Niall, as well as myself and Harry, because really I was just writing my own fan fiction for my own imagination purposes, said I love you to Harry already, and then Gabby and Niall kiss, as well as me and Harry, within all of the same day of meeting each other. So, okay, let's see. I remember this moving incredibly fast, so let me see. Okay, we're gonna read a little bit of chapter 2, like the end, I think. Okay. This is, by the way, the same day. This is the same day as the first chapter. Okay. This is the same day, the evening, though. Gabby's point of view. It has been the best day of my whole life. Getting to fall in love with your dream boys, with your best friend, was something I only imagined doing. Niall and Harry invited us to go camping with them for the week on their tour bus. Allison and my mom said it was fine since we were 18. Okay, yeah, of course. Yeah, since you're 18, bitch, you're 11. Because Zane was with Perry for the week and Paul was on vacation. Paul, by the way, was one of their security guards. So, in case you're not up to date on that lore, that's who Paul is. Alice and I could use their bunks. They're spelled There. Harry and Niall have been acting kind of weird and said they wanted to talk to us about something. Hey, Allison, I said. Hey, Gabby, she replied. We were in the bathroom getting ready for bed. We were in pajamas, which were only a tank top and shorts. How scandalous. I was putting my hair into a braid and asked, what do you think they want to talk about? I have no idea, Allison said. After brushing her teeth and putting her hair up, we both took our makeup off, but I put on a little bit of lip gloss, just in case Niall and I kissed again. Oh, so we were in Gabby's point of view. Sorry, my bad. I don't know if I said that. Switching to Niall's point of view. Harry and I got really nervous as they walked in. We were finally going to ask them. Finally, you literally met them that day, but okay. Hey guys, so what did you want to talk about? They asked as they sat on the couch. Niall and I were wondering, Harry started. Come here, I said, patting the couch which we were sitting on, signaling for them to sit next to us. We wanted to ask you, I continued. If you do us the honor, Harry said, of being our girlfriends? Which, hey, by the way, Niall and Harry very much so on the same page. Why were they asking us to be their girlfriends at the exact same moment? That seems kind of like a private moment between couples, but that's just my opinion. As the author of this story as well. I finished off and they both squealed, of course, as they gave us kisses on the cheek. Gabby and Allison both said, we were hoping you'd ask. We all talked for a little while, then Gabby kissed me goodnight and I fell asleep very happy. I can't believe how lucky we are to have them be our girlfriends. Period. So, by the way, same day of them meeting. They met, went on their first date, had their first kiss, told each other they loved each other, and then are essentially living together. And the book kind of continues on, like, Gabby and Allison just start living with One Direction full time on the tour bus. And that's like, I can't even remember major plot points. Oh, we do bring Yvonne into the story, like, shortly after. But, oh my god, sorry. Also, just to clue in on the beginning of this, within the first 5 chapters, Louis gets into a car accident on the tour bus. Nobody else was on the tour bus because we were camping. And he has to go to the emergency room. And then that's when we bring Yvonne in because she was his lifelong friend from childhood. And then boom. But then somehow there was like a connection of like, I somehow knew Yvonne from my past, but was also Louis' childhood best friend. But then all of us were still younger than One Direction. I don't know. I had quite the imagination, I guess. But you know how I said no plot holes? That was a lie. But anyway, hey. So that's the Lucky Ones. That was the first one I wrote. Now we're moving on to what I would consider a better piece of work, but when I read it last night, kind of realized not as great as I thought it was. This one we're going to try to do like a skim over because it's a lot more tied to the whole girl band plot that I told you guys about that I had, so that Harry would know who I was and marry me. Main characters are again Allison, Yvonne, and Gabby. Title of this one was This Wasn't in the Description Box. Description of the fan fiction. No one told her life was going to be this way. Massive. Hey, bet you could have never guessed. That was the first time I watched Friends. When I was writing this, first time I was watching Friends. So, no one told her life was going to be this way, and neither did the questionable DM she received from an anonymous boy. Intrigue. I wonder who that boy could be. Okay, so we're going to start. Also, every chapter of this book was titled after a song title. So the first chapter is called Untitled, which is a John Mayer song. We all work, all of us having an okay YouTube channel. That's where the whole description box comes in. And I work at a local restaurant while Yvonne works at an animal shelter. Gabby, being a white girl, works at Starbucks. Why was I throwing Gabby under the bus for liking Starbucks? I don't know. We all started the YouTube channel when we were 15, and Yvonne was 14 because she's a year younger than us, obviously. Had to be factually true. We always had a thing for music, but we're also very stupid people. Stupid people make normal people laugh. Laughter equals popularity, naturally. And thus, we have over 3 million subscribers. Period, queen. Give it to us. I almost forgot. We are also obsessed with One Direction, and it's been that way for the past 7 years. Somehow, Niall, Louis, and Harry are still single, even though the matter of panic attacks from small little flings didn't come in small numbers. There's still hope for us, no matter how small. At the end of the chapter, Allison gets a Twitter notification of a One Direction fan account following her and sending her messages. The Twitter account, not to give too much away, is actually Harry pretending to be someone else so that he can get to know Allison. So the exchange, I'll say Allison and Harry just for practical purposes. Harry follows her on Twitter. Allison, how can I help you? Which, hey, whack-ass way to start a conversation if you ask me, but okay. Harry, my friend Abigail knows you. My name is Harrison. Talk later, H, X. That looks oddly familiar. Sure thing. Oh, this is Allison again. Sure thing, as long as you promise you aren't some creepy pedophilic man. Naturally. Harry, haha, I promise I'm not. How would I know that to be true? Because it's literally man on the internet? I don't know. Allison, okay, good. Talk later then. End of chapter 1. I literally rewrote this story. So this isn't even the first cut of this. This is me going back to try and make it better. But there's only so much you can do. Allison, Yvonne, and Gabby had put together that it was actually Harry who was DMing Allison. Okay, we're going back to the DM dialogue. Harry, Allison, I have a confession to make. Allison, is it that you're Harry Styles and have secretly been lying to me this whole time? Okay, way to put it blunt, babe. Harry, yes, actually. How'd you know? Allison, I finished high school with a 4.0 GPA. I'm not stupid. No, you didn't. I finished high school with a 3.7 GPA. And I didn't even do American schooling, so who knows what I actually got. Harry, so that doesn't change your feelings, right? Allison, if anything, it increases them because, I've had a crush on you for a long time. Crush in air quotes. But I can't promise I'll act entirely normal when we meet. At least she's being honest. Harry, well, at least you're honest. But are we still on for today? Allison, I'll see you later, Mr. Styles. Meet me at 4. Harry, see you later. And then the montage of her getting ready, which also, by the way, for my visuals, the classic polyvore outfit of what I wore on my date with Harry. So I'll just let you guys look at that for a second. So what a treat. Ugly ass fucking outfit if you ask me. Would not wear that on a first date now. And then Harry and Allison meet for the first time. And then the next part is when we introduce the whole girl band plot of it all. Okay, there we go. Basically, the reason One Direction was in town was because they were performing at, like they were on tour. And so the whole beginning montage is like everybody getting ready and like Harry and Allison recapping like how the date went and how they all really liked each other. And so the girls are at the concert. Um, yeah. Okay. But Harry finds out from the YouTube channel that we are singers. So the like essential plot point that kind of introduces the girl band of it all is they asked us to come on stage to sing a song at the show, which hey, I'm just going to say for a logistically wise, which I did not know at the time, stadium tour and like kind of the pulling people on stage is virtually impossible. And also a security risk. But I guess because I had gone on a date with Harry, it doesn't matter, you know? So we went to the studio in London because we were in London visiting the boys, of course. I'm making sure I'm filming. Visiting the boys, of course. Went to London to visit the boys, performed as their opening act again, but it was a little bit more official this time. And then what did we do after that? Oh, we went to the studio to sing him a sample piece. And of course, Allison had been writing songs all along because it was just a direct reflection of what I do in real life. And I've been writing songs since I was like 6 or 7 years old. So anyway, loosely based off of real people, nah, pretty much carbon copies if I'm going to be completely honest. Okay. Here we go. Whose point of view? I think it's mine probably. Because I'm a selfish bitch, so yep, it's mine. Sorry, Yvonne and Gabby. Sorry, guys. Hello, girls. How are you today? Simon asks us. We're good, Yvonne stutters, smiling a bit. Follow me. The office is this way, he says, leading us down a hallway. So, girls, when did you guys start music? Simon asks us as we settle into our chairs around his desk. We decided we'd like to be a band and see what happens when we were about 12 or 13. We actually were going to apply for X Factor, Gabby says, and Simon's face lights up. Well, why not then? Simon asks, and I answer first. We had some major setbacks, and trying out for the show really wasn't an option, I say politely, and he nods, subtly getting at the deepest plot point of this whole book. Which actually never got written because I stopped writing this fan fiction completely because I was like, hey, it's actually not that good, so I'm just gonna stop writing it. Anyway, I say politely and he nods. So I've seen your vocal talent. The question is, what would you guys do if I signed you? Simon asks us with a smile, and I gulp. Well, we'd have to unroll from our universities, not unenroll, unroll. And mind you, I say that about 14 other times in this chapter alone. Unroll from our universities and figure out the rent on our apartment, but we'd start touring with the boys, like you said. I have a lot of songs written, we would just have to put them to music. Which, hey, that's the whole part of producing a song. But hey, who knows? Babe, they're just words on a paper until the musical component comes in. We'd have to go home to get our stuff, but we can start whenever you want if you signed us, I say, and Gabby and Yvonne nod in agreement. Well, we have a contract to sign, loves. He smiles, and we all squeak a little. Dreams really do come true. We read through the contract and sign accordingly. We can work out minor details later, but you girls will be touring with the boys. But if enough popularity presents itself, you can have a mini tour whenever you put out an album. Simon smiles as we walk out of the office. That sounds awesome. Thank you so much, Simon. We are so honored, Yvonne says, and he gives a hug to all of us. I don't want that man hugging me. You guys are wicked talented. I can't see it go to waste. You mean you need the money. Got it. Daylight robbery is what you mean. Go to waste. He smiles and walks back into his office. So yeah, this wasn't in the description box. I think that's a good overview. So you can see my writing got marginally better as I was going on, but it still was not great. But just to give you some insight into like I got better at writing as I kept going, but yeah, those first two a little bit rough. And I'm not going to read it on camera, but I did lie to one of my friends in college because one of my things that I used to do in college was I would read my friends these when I was drunk at the pub. I would go back into my Wattpad account and multiple of my guy friends, because most of my friends in college were guys, asked if I ever wrote smut, and I viciously denied it. I'm going to admit to God's green internet, and forgive me for saying this, but I did write smut. I think I published it and then I felt so like about it that I unpublished it. I will say to you now though, it's not bad. It's not bad. It's not bad. Should I have been writing that as like a minor? Probably not, but hey, it's a part of life. It's natural. But anyway, I will do my recap of all of my favorite songs by One Direction. So I'm going to do one off of each album. We'll do chronological order. So my favorite song off of Up All Night, which this is actually like an England exclusive track for a long time. There was like tea around the fact that like some songs were only released in certain regions of the world, but now all of them are on Spotify. So my favorite song off of Up All Night full track list is Another World. I'm not going to put descriptions of these ones, by the way, because I'm not going to hate on my boys because I love them dearly, but all of their songs are kind of the same gist. They're like either about fucking, love songs, or breakup songs. So they kind of follow the standard format. Off of Take Me Home, my favorite song is Irresistible. Off of Midnight Memories, just for memory's sake, I'm putting Does He Know, because that was a song that like turned me into a One Direction stan. Another one that was really special to me because of my context and how I've grown up my whole life was Don't Forget Where You Belong. I sang that song at my quinceañera before I moved to Thailand. Off of 4, my favorite song is Once in a Lifetime. And finally, off of Made in the AM, my favorite song is AM, because it's a very I don't know how to put it. I think it recaps their time together as a band quite well and sweetly, but also, hey, it was my initials. It was my initials. Of course, that was my favorite song. But it still is. If I had to pick one second to that, probably End of the Day or What a Feeling. But Made in the AM was my favorite One Direction album. I just felt like artistically I was the most in tune with that one. But yeah, those are all of my songs, and hopefully a more dramatic and fulfilling reading of my fan fictions, because I was quite low energy last night and I feel like I needed to give my writing the accolades and flowers it deserves. And by that I mean viciously make fun of myself, because what the fuck was I writing? Guess 1D song. Hard. Guess the One Direction song challenge from the O's. Song. What Makes You Beautiful. What Makes You Beautiful. That's best song ever. I'm gonna get this 100% right, and I don't know what that proves. Illusion. Oh baby, this is not an illusion. Never thought it hurt so bad. Getting you. Heart Attack. I don't know this one. Oh, okay. I thought it was Harry or Zayn, so I couldn't tell. That would have. Drives me mad. Oh. Nah. What? Oh, drives me mad. makes me mad. Oh. I know I'm not supposed to be pausing. Damn it. I need to listen to it again. $18. I don't know what this proves. This is not something I should be proud of. Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. This is something off of Made in the Air. Walking in the Wind. How long is this video? I've only missed one so far. Midnight Memories. Obviously. Baby, you want me stolen in the street. Sing it, sing it. It's Irresistible, Truly, Madly, Deeply. Truly, madly. I think it's Truly, Madly, Deeply. Damn, I'm good at this game. I only got one wrong. That's pretty good. From only the O's. Anyway, that is my party trick. I can guess any One Direction song in the first 5 seconds, and apparently from the O's. Except for, what song did I miss? Oh, Infinity. Yeah, my bad. My bad. It's been a while since I've listened to Made in the AM, but I'm pretty impressed. I don't know what this proves, but it was fun. Anyways, guys, hope you enjoyed this segment. This video is going to be such a hodgepodge mess of different audios, so I'm so sorry. But anyway, toodles, love you guys. But anyway, as always, please be sure, if you're watching on YouTube, to like, comment, and subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you're updated whenever I post my videos, the visual component of it all. And if you are an audio listener, please rank this podcast 5 stars on both Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Follow the podcast because it helps me out to get it distributed to more people. And leave a comment or a review if you guys have any pointers for me or just have something nice to say or anything to say at all. But that's going to be it for this one. Again, my deepest, dearest, darkest apologies. I don't even know what I'm saying about the audio. I know this video is going to be shit and kind of all over the place, but I didn't know it was going to be that way, so I'm sorry. I promise next week I will make sure quality control. I set up my mic in like 5 minutes yesterday, so that could be why it stopped working. But anyway, that's all for me. All the love in the world to you guys. Thank you for tuning in for the One Direction episode. I got on my soapbox about it yesterday, so I'll do it briefly. But One Direction was one of the most life-changing experiences. Like, them being a fan of them and everything that they brought with it was one of the most life-changing experiences of my life in a very positive way. They gave me a deep connection to music, and I fully accredit them with the I don't know, for planting the seed of interest in me to pursue music as a career. Not that I followed up on that, but hey, it's not too late. I'm only 22. And just to explore that passion further and how much positivity they spread into the world and the friendships they gave me and all the memories I have. And I just want to put it out there that, like, let teenage girls have things like what One Direction was to me, because it's such a healthy and beautiful thing. Like, yes, my obsessions were a little bit fucking crazy. Like, on a lot of the stuff I recapped today, kind of fucking crazy. But also at the same time, like, I look back at it so fondly and as if it was, like, the best time of my life, or one of the best times. So, yeah, I think it's just important that don't discourage, like, young women from having these passions and exciting, because it can lead to wonderful things. I mean, for all intents and purposes, it led me to moving to London and making the friends I have now. It led me to pursuing music in whatever capacity that is, and like, you know, subsequently even this podcast, and has just given me so much more resilience and strength and so many other positive qualities that I do attribute to being a One Direction fan and that whole experience, because it shaped who I am today massively. So, yeah. I think something like what I had with One Direction was a beautiful thing. I'm still waiting for them to get back together, just like everybody else, because, like I said, I'm delusional. But yeah, just wanted to get on my soapbox about it because I love them to goddamn death, and they deserve all of their flowers and accolades. And it's still a crime that they didn't win a Grammy, in my opinion. But yeah, that's all from me. I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Sorry for the audio and everything being all over the place, but I had to do this episode justice. So love you guys very much, and I will catch you in next week's episode. Toodles!